You are a child seated on the rear side of a light-colored Volkswagen Beetle. The car oddly smells like bleach and old coffee. Up front, your father's hands are completely calm on the steering wheel. He is handsome, impeccably dressed, and smiling at you. But there is something deeply unsettling about this car. There is no front passenger seat, and the interior passenger door handle has been completely ripped out. You are too small to understand why. You have absolutely no idea that you are currently sitting inside a modified, mobile execution chamber. Welcome to POV, Your Life as Ted Bundy's Son. What it might have looked like to grow up as the boy nobody knew existed, fathered by one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. A disclaimer: Ted Bundy never had a son. This is fiction, built inside a true and documented life. This journey is not designed to sympathize with a monster, nor is it here to disrespect the memory of the innocent lives he destroyed. It is a raw, psychological deep dive into the wreckage left behind in a killer's wake. As your life unfolds, your mind will be bombarded with terrifying questions about human nature. But there is one burning question that will haunt your soul. Did he genuinely love you, or were you nothing more than the ultimate prop to keep his mask from slipping? Chapter 1. The weight you are born into. You are born on a Tuesday in a hospital room that smells of disinfectant, and the first sound you ever hear isn't your mother's heartbeat. It's silence. She's already gone, dead. Nobody will ever tell you how or why. All you'll ever know is that the woman who carried you for 9 months left this world the moment you entered it, and the man looking at you doesn't cry. He just stares, like he's doing math. Like he's already calculating what you're going to cost him. That man is your father. His name is Theodore Robert Bundy. Right now in 1970, the world still thinks he's a promising psychology student with a bright future, completely unaware that the charming student spends his midnights creeping through the dark, peering through residential windows to watch strangers sleep. He calls this his education. You're about to spend the rest of your life finding out exactly how wrong the world is. Chapter 2. The warmth. For your first few years, you don't live with him. You can't. He's finishing law school in Salt Lake City, building a name in Republican political circles, charming people twice his age into believing he's going somewhere. So you live with a quiet relative on your mother's side, a woman who took you in out of guilt or grief or both. You don't know her name yet. All you know is the smell of her kitchen, and a man who shows up every few months smelling like a different city, who picks you up and says, "Hey, buddy," in a voice so warm it makes your chest hurt. You don't know yet that warmth is the most dangerous tool he owns. By the time you are 4, the visits shape into a pattern, steady, then gone, for stretches he never explains. He's working, he says, but while you are eating sandwiches in the kitchen, wondering what that work entails, the local evening news is broadcasting a quiet, steady terror. Young women are vanishing from college campuses across the Pacific Northwest. Co-eds with long, dark hair parted down the middle. You don't know that his first love, the woman who broke his heart years ago, matches that description perfectly. You don't know that a young woman in Utah got into that car because the driver looks too clean-cut, too polite, too much like someone's nice older brother to be anything else. The horrific details are something you learn later in your life. You grow up with a father who exists in fragments, a weekend here, a phone call there. A man people described as unnervingly charming, the kind of charm that makes strangers hand over their trust like it costs nothing. When he turns even a sliver of it on you, it feels like being chosen, like winning something. That's the cage. And it's beautiful the way all the worst cages are. Chapter 3. The fault lines. In August of 1975, the visits stop completely. A trooper in Utah pulls him over at 2:30 in the morning and finds a crowbar, handcuffs, a ski mask, pantyhose with eye holes cut out, a kit with no innocent explanation. You're 5 years old and the woman raising you starts crying when you ask where he is. Helping with some legal stuff, she says. True in its own twisted way. He spends 1976 doing exactly that, defending himself in court for the attempted kidnapping of a young woman, charming a courtroom the same way he's apparently charmed everyone else his whole life. He's convicted anyway. And for the first time, you hear a word attached to your father that you'll spend the rest of your childhood trying to outrun. Suspect. You are 6 years old and you already know that word tastes like metal. Chapter 4. The Escape. In June of 1977, he jumps from a courthouse window in Aspen and vanishes into the mountains for 6 days. You don't feel fear. You feel something obscene and confusing, a flicker of pride. My dad is the guy who escaped. For 6 days, you're the only 7-year-old in America who doesn't know whether to be scared or impressed by his own father. That confusion, that's the cage tightening. It doesn't lock you in with chains. It locks you in with a feeling you're too young to know is wrong. Soon, he's caught driving a stolen car. Caught. Then, in December, he escapes again, starving himself thin enough to crawl through an 11-inch hole he spent weeks cutting in his own cell ceiling. This time, he isn't caught for 46 days. This time, he makes it all the way to Florida. You don't know yet what those 46 days will cost. Chapter 5. Serial Killer on the Loose. On January 15, 1978, a predatory man walked into a sorority house in Tallahassee carrying an oak log. You are not there. You will never be there. But the events of those 15 minutes will follow you for the rest of your life like a shadow that refuses to match your shape. 2 young women brutally killed in under 15 minutes, 2 more left for dead, and a bite mark that will one day put a name to the scene. One survivor will spend decades describing the terrifying sound of her bedroom door swishing against the carpet. The moment she made herself the smallest little ball she could, hoping that if he couldn't see her, he wouldn't kill her. You will never meet her, but you'll spend your own life mastering a version of that same instinct. The art of making yourself small enough that people forget who you are. 3 weeks later, he takes a 12-year-old girl from outside her school. She's found 2 months later in an abandoned hog shed. 12 years old, just a few years older than you. Sit with that number. Nobody else in your life is going to let you sit with it gently. They're going to make you carry it in headlines. Chapter 6. The Sins of a Father. On February 15, 1978, a Pensacola officer ran the plates on a stolen orange Volkswagen at 1 in the morning. Your father kicks the officer's legs out and runs. He doesn't get far and is stopped at gunpoint. He refuses to give his name for days, not out of fear but something closer to performance, like a magician protecting the trick. When his fingerprints finally come back, the name on the file becomes the only thing anyone in America wants to talk about. That is your surname too. Overnight, your surname turns into a weapon other children pick up without understanding what it cuts. You go from the kid whose dad travels for work to a name parents whisper at pickup lines. Nobody asks if you're okay. Nobody asks if you knew. They've already decided what kind of boy grows inside a house like that. So you make the first real decision of your life that belongs entirely to you. You stop telling people your last name. Chapter 7. The Shattered Mirror. In 1979, the cameras came back. Bigger this time, the first capital murder trial ever televised nationally. You watch your father treat the entire proceeding like a stage, firing his lawyers, cross-examining detectives himself, smiling at a courtroom gallery full of strangers who have traveled from across the country just to blush and pass love letters to a serial killer. He's a celebrity instead of a man accused of murdering people. Then comes the moment that shatters your soul. A forensic odontologist takes the stand, holding up transparent plastic overlays of your father's unique, crooked teeth, demonstrating an undeniable physical match to the brutal bite marks left on a victim's flesh. The rabid beast is fully exposed under the harsh fluorescent lights of the courtroom. You watch the judge sentence him to death and say something that lives in your chest for the rest of your life. It's a tragedy of this court to see such a total waste of humanity. I'll tell you that. You're a bright young man. You'd have made a good lawyer, and I would have loved to have you practice in front of me, but you went another way, partner. Take care of yourself. Even the man sending your father to die can't stop himself from mourning what he could have been. You stand in front of your bathroom mirror every morning, staring into your own eyes, looking at the structure of your jawline, terrified by the fear that you might inherit his capacity for absolute unfeeling callousness. Chapter 8. The Decade You Learn to Disappear. For the next decade, while he sits on death row writing appeals and giving interviews he thinks make him sound brilliant, you do something he never taught you how to do. You disappear on purpose. The good way this time. You finish school under a name nobody recognizes. You take a job that has nothing to do with anything he ever touched. You build a life that is invisible by design. And invisible means safe. From a distance, you watch a woman marry him in a courtroom using an obscure Florida law, and watch her have his daughter while he's on death row. You have a half-sister somewhere in the world. A girl who carries the same last name you stopped using years ago. A girl who is growing up in the shadow of the same story, in a version of the same silence. You will never meet her. You watch from a distance as that same woman divorces him in 1986. The same year he finally, after a decade of denial, starts confessing. 30 murders, maybe more. He trades locations of bones nobody had found yet for time he never gets. You read about it in a newspaper like everyone else, because by now, that's the only relationship you have left with him. Paper, distance, headlines. Therefore, on January 24th, 1989, when they execute him at 7:06 in the morning, you don't go. Outside the prison gates, over 2,000 people are cheering, setting off fireworks, frying eggs in skillets to mock the electric chair about to take his life. You watch the celebration on a small TV in a room nobody else knows you're sitting in, and you feel something you didn't expect. Relief. And underneath the relief, so much shame about feeling it that you can't separate the two anymore. Chapter 9. The Climax. You are 35 now, and you spend your nights obsessively trying to piece together the shattered puzzle of your own DNA. You sit at a desk piled high with digital and physical folders, staring at files labeled verbatim as Ted Bundy research, attempting to just make sense of the chaotic plot of your existence. And then you find the definitive, crushing answer to the one burning question that has been rotting your soul from the inside out since the day you were old enough to comprehend his crimes. Why did he keep you safe? Did he protect your childhood because some secret piece of his soul genuinely loved you? Or were you nothing more than a prop? You read the archival interviews of his real-life brother and his long-term girlfriend. You realize your father ran the exact same script on them that he ran on you. His brother recalled the idyllic camping trips. His ex recalled how he put immense energy into making them happy. But they also recalled the terrifying cracks, the violent push into a freezing river, the hollow, bottomless black eyes. When asked why they think they survived, their conclusion hits your mind with the force of a physical blow. Their placement in his life was the only thing that kept them safe. Therefore, the truth falls into place. It wasn't because of love, it was because of cold, calculated, psychopathic self-preservation. Your father was a hyper-vigilant narcissist. He understood that the best way to hide a predator is to wrap it in the neat, boring packaging of a normal family. He kept you safe because you were his ultimate human shield. You were never loved. You were simply a tool, a piece of camouflage designed to keep a predator invisible in plain sight. The truth is a brutal, agonizing pill to swallow. But as the realization washes over you, a strange, profound transformation begins to occur within your mind. Your father's actions will forever be a dark scar on human history. But his sickness does not define your future. You are not the continuation of his crime. You are the living proof that the darkness failed to consume everything it touched. You take a deep, clean breath of air, turn your back on the phantom of Ted Bundy. You close the folder. You open a new document. At the top, you type a name, not his, yours. A name you chose. A name that belongs to no one else's story but your own. For the first time in 35 years, it feels like it fits. History has a bad habit of remembering the monsters while completely erasing the collateral wreckage left in their wake. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join me for the next descent into the human condition. This is Proxiverse. Thank you for watching.